Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark and Gail. Happy birthday to you. That's about what I got. I tried downloading the song. It didn't really work. This is my first time in this studio. We're at our new place that I mentioned earlier this summer, and it's been a long time since I've gone live, so I appreciate you guys showing up for this first live stream back. I'm not sure that they're going to be every week moving forward, but we've got a lot to figure out. And tonight we are celebrating King James Onlyism's two favorite birthday twins. That's right. Gail Riplinger and Mark Ward were born on the same day, separated by a few years, but, you know, the same day of the year. I'm okay, whoever this person is. It looks like spam. So I believe, let's see, Gail would have been born around the same year my dad was. She's turning 78, and Mark Ward is turning 45, or turned 45 today. I have let Mark Ward know about this stream. I was wanting to reach out to Gail, but I didn't get a chance to. But I'm almost positive that she wouldn't join, or she would just ignore me, because we're not exactly on speaking terms, especially since, you know, I've been finding out that she lies so much. Oh, Georgia, how's it going? Yeah, I'm fine. I may have lost weight, but if I have lost weight, that's due to all of the stress this summer. We've gone through a lot. We'll talk about that more later. So, tonight, there's a couple of things that I wanted to do. Give some clarity on some things, some comparing and contrasting, and maybe help you guys learn a little bit about our birthday twins. So let me see. I think I have this up on my... No, I don't have my Remarkable software up. Let me just get that up real quick. All right, I want my Remarkable app. So this way you guys can actually see the sheet that I'm working off of tonight. For those of you that don't know, Gail Riplinger was an author back in the 90s. She worked for, I believe, about 6 years on a 600-page book, which is, considering the topic that she was talking about, it was, I think, not long enough for her to actually write on the subject, especially since she didn't have any prior training in it. She wrote a book called New Age Bible Versions, and what New Age Bible Versions purported is that modern Bible translations have a satanic agenda behind them. And the reason for this is something that we've discussed multiple times on this channel, is that Isaiah 14:12 has, in the King James Bible, it says Lucifer. In modern translations, it says morning star, day star, shining one, stuff like this. So she drew the conclusion that it was actually supposed to have been about Jesus Christ, according to modern translations, which that passage is obviously not about Jesus Christ. But one of her students at her university apparently got that impression from reading it, and it all basically cascaded from there. There were some other things apparently that played a part, but that's more minor things, but that's why she wrote the book, basically, from what I've been able to distill. Highly controversial book, obviously. She wrote several more books after that, at least two that were longer than New Age Bible Versions was. And yeah, she's probably she's written, I think, a book that was two things that it did. above and beyond what any other book has ever done. First thing is that it was by far the most most broadly reaching, most influential King James only book that's ever been written. In my estimation, if somebody else has a another book that was written by a King James only author that was more influential, please let me know. And then, well, of course, maybe one of the foundational ones, like maybe the Benjamin Wilkinson one, or maybe J.J. Ray. You can make an argument for those, possibly David Fuller or what have you. The second thing that it did is it made more errors of fact and logic and presented more falsehoods than any other book any other Christian has ever written. And that is, again, in my estimation, averaging about 5 either misunderstandings or just downright lies per page, which is pretty incredible. The Remarkable app is installing an update, so not a lot of chance that I'm going to be able to get into that right now. I told it not to install the update. So why is it doing it? Do I want to cancel the installation process? Yes, I do, because you're going to be stuck at 91% forever. So that's kind of Gail Ripplinger in a nutshell. She was a professor at, and she's still alive, by the way. She was a professor at Kent State University. She wrote a few textbooks on interior design, which is not interior decorating, two extremely different fields. It deals more with like lighting and structure and efficiency and floor layouts and different things like that. Interior decorating is more like colors and interior decorating kind of things. So she was not an interior decorator. That's something that's false that has been spread. Let's see what else would be real pertinent. That's probably about it. So as far as an introduction to Gail, Mark Ward was a King James only person in his younger years. I believe he was raised King James only. When he got to college, however, he started learning that basically the King James only based conspiracy theory that all these college professors just hate the King James Bible and just really want to get rid of it and stuff like this. It wasn't the case. So he started learning. He ended up getting a doctorate degree from Bob Jones University, the exact same doctorate that Peter S. Ruckman had. Kind of funny. Especially since Peter Ruckman was kind of the basis for Gail Ripplinger. I've got a poor little boy outside my door crying. I don't know if you guys can hear him or not, but I should probably go see if I can help. Let's see. For some reason, StreamYard kicked me out on the laptop. We'll try to fix that. Let's see. I can't exactly mute myself right now. Enter Studio. Okay. So that's basically Mark Ward's history in a nutshell. Let's see. His more recent stuff that he's done. He's a content creator, has a YouTube channel. It's called Ward on Words. I believe it used to just be called Mark Ward. That was maybe a year or so ago. It would have just been called Mark Ward. And what he did to put him on the King James only map was he dealt with the subject of what he calls false friends. False friends is an incredible concept that really aids in understanding your Bible, because there have been words in the King James Bible that have actually changed their meaning in 400 years. We still use these words. They're not words that, we read them and we just, we know exactly what they are. Like, for instance, one of the big ones actually is study. We all know what study means. I've got some books back here that I could study. I could study the Bible, different things like that. But that's not what it meant back in 1611. it did have that meaning, but it wasn't the one that was being used in the passage, where it says, "Study to show thyself approved unto God." That is not talking primarily about studying academically. It's talking about being diligent, and that's what reflects from the Greek word there, which means to be diligent, and that's exactly what modern translations render it as, is to be diligent or to do your diligence. And I will speak to the Lucifer thing probably later on. But the person in view there, just real brief, the person in view in Isaiah 14:12 is the king of Babylon who had been killed. So we will talk about that at some point. As far as in my humble opinion, it has nothing to do with Satan whatsoever, but we can talk about that later. Oh, hey Daniel, how's it going? Good to see you too. And yeah, it's been a long time. It has been a chaotic summer. It has been a summer that has hit us very hard, and it's been a while to actually come back. And this is the new studio. I'm gonna kind of move furtively because of the wires, but furtively, is that the right word? I'm not sure, but that's kind of the room for now. More setup necessary. So the false friends concept, there are about 300 different words that the revised standard version, they said that there was about 300 words that had changed meaning completely since 1611. Another good one is the King James Bible uses both ways to define the word let. What does let mean? Let means you're going to allow somebody to do something, right? Well, in 1611, it apparently had two different meanings: to let someone do something or to go before somebody and prevent them from being first. Him that now letteth will let, restrain. So, yeah, that's not confusing at all. So you read that and you're like, what? But you don't realize you're being tripped up by a false friend, a word that you know, but you don't know that it meant something else when the person that wrote it put it down. It's really a fascinating and kind of scary thing, because there are a lot of false friends that have actually affected Bible interpretation over the years. And that's mostly because more examples. Prevent, corn, let, suffer, want. All those words. Suffer meaning to allow and not to, go through your crucible. Corn meaning just grain, not meaning maize. Let me just put your comment up there real quick. That's something that's really got the Mandela effect people. They're all like, oh, corn, that's, they put that in the Bible supernaturally somehow or whatever. And it's really not true at all. It just simply meant grain. But it's all come to basically mean maize, at least in America. So, very valuable work that he's done. We'll get into a little bit more about where he has taken this. But suffice it to say for now, he has addressed half of them. About half of them. I'm sure there's probably more than 300. Because there's a lot of nuance to a lot of these words. So he has addressed about 150 of them public on his YouTube channel before last December, when he just stopped addressing it on his channel. He's got more, I believe, that are going to be coming out. He has a book and a documentary called Authorized: The Use and Misuse of the King James Bible. Highly, highly, highly recommend the documentary and the book. I will try to get links to those down in the description. So let me write that down. Add Authorized to disk. All right. So, yeah, that's pretty much for Mark Ward. I thought it was positively hilarious. So the way that I found out that Gail Ripplinger and Mark Ward actually share a birthday is, I think I saw on Facebook, I think it was on Facebook, that I must have gotten a notification that it was going to be his birthday the next day or something. As we're friends on Facebook, me and Mark. Gail has no presence on Facebook except to post links to her books and stuff. So I was like, hey, happy birthday or whatever. And I said, hey, yeah, I don't know if you know this, Mark, but you were born the day before Gail Ripplinger, before her birthday, the day before her birthday. Isn't that something? And he's like, when was she born? And I said October 10th. And he's like, my birthday is on October 10th. And I'm like, oh, I misread that. So it was just like, wow, because if there are two people that have done more work for this Bible version controversy, this whole King James controversy, it is Gail Ripplinger and Mark Ward. And they've really both dug in on things that nobody really talks about, which is it's just amazing that even worked out that way. And put in a note, I'm pretty sure she's not watching, but my sister-in-law, today is also her birthday. So happy birthday, Marie. And incidentally, a few years ago, my sister-in-law was pretty much bedridden because of, I think it was like, man, I don't remember if it was a clot or something. I forget. But anyways, she wasn't able to do a lot this one summer. So her and her daughter went through different Bible translations, comparing them to the King James Bible, and we're like, wow, there are a lot of serious differences. And I haven't had a chance to talk to her yet about those differences. But we've discussed things relating to this before. So that'll be fun to actually, dig in with her. I think she has a basic idea, but it'll be interesting. But does that scenario sound kind of familiar? It's what is it with people that are born on October 10th? I've got no idea. What is around my neck? That is a good question. This is a lanyard for my glasses. So that's that. To keep them out of the way and keep them from bumping the microphone cord, I do that. A lot of the time, the hinge will catch the back of my hair and it'll be, so I'll have to take it out of there. But that's what that is for inquiring minds. And then this is snaked up my shirt. So yeah. Right. Cool. So that satisfied your curiosity. I'm glad. This is kind of far down. I don't like how far down this is. Let me see if I can't get Remarkable to work for me. If I can get Remarkable to work for me, that would be great, because then you guys can see me squiggling my little lines and my little laser pointer and all this stuff on the Remarkable, but I don't know if it's going to open. It may just not open. Well, that would be incredibly sad if it doesn't. But anyways. Oh, is there a way that I can... No, because I don't know if I can even open documents in Chrome like that. Okay, checking for updates. Cancel. I don't want to check for updates. Here we go. All right, so we're going to go to... All right, My Files is open. I guess I'm just kind of waiting for the files to load. I should have had this set up earlier, but yeah, with 5 kids, you can't just do things. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, and unless that comes up, it's not going to work. All right, well, we're just going to keep on moving. So I've over the last couple of days, I've been thinking, okay, so how are Gail and Mark similar? How are they different? And what can I offer them for their birthday? So those are the 3 different things that I want to hit real quick. And then we can do a question and answer at the end. Whatever you guys want to know, any information that I can fill in about our leave of absence, whatever you like. So the first thing, I've got 9 different things. And if you think of something that I didn't put in here, just let me know and we can add it to the list. Did those ever populate? No, they didn't. Well, maybe that's why, because they're just not. Psst, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Whatever. First thing, first way that they're similar is, surprise, this is just great insight here. They're both Christians. And considering that in the grand scheme of things is actually a pretty, it's a pretty good coincidence. King James only, they share King James onlyism. So these are things that Gail Ripplinger and Mark Ward have in common. They were both King James only. Mark Ward for the beginning part of his life, and then he ended up leaving it. And Gail Ripplinger, who used to think that, what did she say? She used to say that King James only people had part of their brains missing, is what she used to think. So they're both authors. Okay. They're both very controversial. They don't thrive on controversy. They're not, people that are just gonna, go after, and no, I don't sound under the weather. Sorry. I might actually. I'm a little plugged up, but I'm not sick yet. Not yet. So they're both controversial because of Gail Ripplinger's claims, and Mark Ward because of his False Friends series, mostly. Both of them have lots of content that focuses around the King James only controversy from different sides, though. They both discuss how words in the Bible are or should be defined and understood. 7, both of them have a lot of people accusing them of lying. A lot of people. So for Gail, there are a lot of King James only people that accuse Gail of lying. There are a lot of modern version people that accuse Gail of lying. Like David Cloud has pointed out, he has shown, or he has claimed, that Gail lies in his article that he has online about the problem with New Age Bible versions. And Gail wrote Blind Guides, which part of that deals with David Cloud and says that he's a liar. And like David Cloud said, when you have one party saying that this person's lying, the other party says this person's lying, it's basically up to the person that is beholding this situation to judge for themselves, look into it for themselves, and find the truth for themselves. So far, it sounds like David Cloud is right. Both of them are accused of lying by lots of people. That's number 7. Number 8. Man, I wish Remarkable was working. Oh, shoot, it is. Let's just do something amazing. This is going to be a new. Where did you go? landscape, notebook settings. I wonder where they hid that. Share. There we go. And present with screen share. Present with screen share. Connect to app. Come on. Accept connection in the desktop app. Okay. I would love to do that, but it's not coming up. Maybe it's that update that I needed to do. This is like one of the hallmarks of our channel, is having connection issues. If I can't do it the fancy way, I'm going to do it the unfancy way, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Yes, connect to app, please. They're both on the same network. Oh well. Unfancy way it is. So let's go back to here. Let's share that little old screen. We're going to go to save, turn it back. There we are. Share screen. I've got to read that pop-up someday. Alrighty, and then we're going to go to Window and Remarkable and Share. Sweet. Let me just make sure you guys are able to see that. There, isn't it a beautiful thing? Alrighty. Can I zoom in on this at all? Plus, plus, plus. No. Plus, plus, plus. Control plus. No, no, no. Is it control scroll? Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. There we go. I don't have an emoji. So sad. I want to have like a little emoji here they got, you know, the little, you know, for birthdays and the party hat and the confetti. But I don't have one. So sorry. All right. So for some reason, it's not numbering the pages or numbering the points. I don't know why. Like I said, it's probably that update that I need to install. So yeah, that's that. Okay, so number 8 is they choose their words very, very, very carefully. So Gail Ripplinger is, if New Age Bible Versions is nothing else, it is crafted, but I'm not going to say that it was crafted well. It is kind of like a basket that was woven with like dry spaghetti. It's all broken and screwed up, but it was well thought out. And I'm sorry to say, conniving. So it's kind of a sad thing. Are we doing an after show? We may be doing an after show. It's going to depend on the time, how late it goes. I have to be up to work at, I have to be at work at 8. So I have to leave at about 7:15 or so. So, yeah. Okay, Russell Walker. I've got no idea what your problem is, but okay. Anyways, no distractions. I'm not sure if somebody's trying to say enough faggotry for the night. Let you be gone. Poof. Okay. So I can refute that very easily, but it would be better for my wife to do that. So we're going to leave it at that. Accusing. All right. So they're both of them are accused of lying an awful lot, an awful lot. Gail Ripplinger has non-King James only people and King James only people that accuse her of lying all day and all night. Mark Ward has people that accuse him of lying that are basically, stubborn King James only people. And people that have no capacity of understanding that English words shift meaning over the course of 4 centuries. 9, they both spoke to an aspect of the Bible version controversy that no one else talks about. That I find fascinating. Gail Ripplinger. I have the book back here, I think, don't I? I'm tethered to the mic. I've got 2 copies of it laying on the ground over there. I don't think one's made it onto my bookshelf yet. But New Age Bible versions spoke to the idea that there is a satanic conspiracy behind the modern Bibles. Something that Peter Ruckman actually kind of brought forward with his book, The New American Standard Bible, Satan's Masterpiece. So it kind of expands on that theme. And of course, Gail, being at least somewhat familiar, apparently, with the writings of Helena Blavatsky, she had that kind of stuff to be able to come at that controversy with. So she ended up utilizing Blavatsky a whole awful lot in her argumentation. She spoke to an aspect of the King James Bible controversy, that is the conspiracy that nobody else really talks about. And then I gotta blow my nose. It's mostly dry stuff though, so it's not. I'd imagine that I'll probably get sick in the next couple of days. I've been around sick people, but we'll see. Mark Ward, likewise, has spoke to an aspect of the Bible version controversy that nobody else has talked about when he discusses the false friends, because most people, Stauffer, Ruckman, Gipp, Gale, Daniels, all the people talk about archaic words you can't understand. Oh, the King James Bible, it's so hard to understand. When it comes to words that you can't understand just by reading them, that gives you issues with, like, you stop and you're just like, what was that? So you have to go and try to define that word before you can move forward in understanding, or you can just kind of be like I did an awful lot of the time and just be like, I'll probably understand what that means someday, and then just keep reading. A false friend is going to hurt how you read it, because it's going to let you read the passage, but it's going to let you understand it incorrectly because the word has shifted meaning over time. So that's a false friend, then, is even more dangerous than your archaic word. So kind of like Judas Iscariot, I guess, was more, as kind of a comparison, yeah. Judas Iscariot being more dangerous than the Pharisees. Here, let me scroll down. There we go. So that was that last point there. And now, how are they different? I'm so sorry that it doesn't have them numbered. That is so weird. Why doesn't it have them numbered? I don't know. Is it still going to work if I have that minimized? It still does. Interesting. You know what I could use? I could use some water. That's almost worth untethering myself. I don't dare unplug the microphone, though, or unplug the earpiece. I need to be able to keep talking. Water might be important. I don't think I have like any. Do I have any candies that I could like suck on or something? I had like one of those little, those little mint things at one point. I don't know. Hey, dear, if you can hear me, I'm thirsty. I don't know if somebody could bring me some water. That'd be great. I don't think there's any in the mini fridge. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can. So I'm pretty sure we lost all of the drinks. Aha. It's a little overkill, but I'll take it. You guys get to now watch me. I can hear you in person and over the video, but I can't come right now. That's okay. My mouth is as dry as that desert in The Horse and His Boy. Like I said, overkill, but it works. And that's just going to live right there for now. All right. First time you guys have seen me drink out of a gallon jug. Okay. How are they different? A few key points. If I had my way, I would actually update this just to be a little bit clearer to read. I'm going to make Mark. I'm going to make that bold. And Gail, I'm going to make that bold. I don't know if it's going to update in real time, but if it does, hey, that's awesome if it does. All right, so Mark sees the value and importance in all accurate translations. Now that's important. And I got no idea what the purple crown is on some people's names. I got no idea. I'll figure it out someday. Mark sees the value and importance of all accurate Bible translations, especially in English. And you may think, hey, we have a awful lot of them. One reason why we have a awful lot of them is because different publishing houses don't want to have to pay another publishing house to use a translation in their work. So that's one reason why we have a lot of them. Also, different ones can serve different groups of people, different audiences, which is also very important. And also, it helps to refresh your Bible reading if you use a translation that you've never used before. So, like, if you've read every translation, ESV, New American Standard Bible, New King James Bible, maybe it's time to read a New International Version. Just switching translations can help give you a fresh perspective on what you're reading. So that's something that's highly recommended by a lot of people. Even paraphrases actually have a place if you understand that they're paraphrases and that they're not, they're not completely legit. And also, I really just got no idea what as above, so below meant in Eugene Peterson's translation. I've got no idea. In the Lord's Prayer, if somebody knows why he put that in there, please just let me know. All right. Gail's side of that idea is that she despises all modern translations that do not match the King James Bible verbatim, and that includes the New King James Version. And I would also add, when it comes to translations that came before the King James Bible, somehow their differences kind of seem to get a free pass. Wycliffe's differences, Tyndale's differences, the Geneva Bible's differences, the Bishop's Bible's differences. She uses them to illustrate how sometimes words got more archaic moving into the King James Bible, or it used archaic words where the Bishop's Bible didn't. And that's pretty much about it. She never, to my knowledge, she never actually points out the Geneva Bible, Tyndale, or Wycliffe as actually knowledgeably corrupting the Bible. And I'm aware of the whole thing with John Purvey and what she says about John Wycliffe on that one, but whatever. because there are some things that don't have to do with that idea. But anyways, we can talk about the Wycliffe thing some other time. So like where, for instance, where the Geneva Bible has, we wrestle not against principalities, powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places, and against earthly rulers, where it says stuff like that, I don't think she ever actually accused them of knowledgeably corrupting the Bible, even though that is exactly what kind of happened there. Is they added earthly rulers just because they didn't like the government, which is understandable because they were driven out of England by Mary Queen of, so not Queen of Scots, Mary, Bloody Mary. So I could see where they wouldn't like that kind of monarchy, but they also didn't like King James and the divine right of kings and stuff like that. And that has nothing to do, apparently, with the divine, with the right of the divine king. That's another matter entirely, but I'm not so sure that it doesn't have similar kind of roots. I don't know. That's a whole nother thing that we've talked about before. We'll talk about again in the future. Rabbit trails, rabbit trails. Number 2, Mark that man and avoid him. I can only hear the games that Gil would play with his name were Mark featured in Blind Guides. Mark publicly relies on dictionaries, lexicons, and reference works for word history, definition, and understanding. Gale publicly denounces the using such reference works as the tools of Satan controlling the tree of knowledge. And by the way, I have never seen her use its actual name. I've never read Gail Ripplinger. I've never seen her say tree of knowledge of good and evil. Never seen her say that, ever. She always calls it the tree of knowledge because her point is that these people go to seminary and, people have their King James-onlyism destroyed by these evil organizations called Bible colleges and stuff. And dictionaries. Oh boy, because all the dictionaries disagree with her on Lucifer, so they're all untrustworthy. Basically, my understanding of New Age Bible versions is that it's a 700-page way of Gail Ripplinger making it so she doesn't have to learn that the word Lucifer is the Latin word for the planet Venus, the day star. She couldn't accept that, so she had to reconstruct the world and Bible history in the light of that and make it so she didn't have to learn that fact. So if she would have just been willing to learn, New Age Bible versions probably never would have happened. Gail publicly denounces using such reference works as the tools of Satan controlling the tree of knowledge. And she's told me several times in emails and stuff to avoid going under the tree of knowledge. So, don't learn things, apparently. Unless she approves. If she approves of it, then we can definitely learn it, because if it's worth learning, it's going to back up King James-onlyism, right? Through organizations like the Jesuits, and claims to rely exclusively on her understanding, of the KJV's built-in dictionary, based on context of all things. Anybody that's actually looked into some of the things that Gail wrote in her book know that she is the queen of contextomy. That is where you take something out of its context in order to mislead your reader. Although I suspect she relies much more heavily on dictionaries than she lets on. So, when it comes to defining words like habergen, things like that, and when Bryn gives her exposition of that, it's just what? what? You can't get this from the text without knowing the definition already. And then you kind of construct how you could have gotten this from just the King James Bible without a dictionary after you know the definition, because you wouldn't have known it otherwise. It's hilarious. And we know this whole context thing doesn't help, especially defining the word Lucifer. Doesn't help at all. Not at all. One of those things that people are like, oh, I just rely on the Bible. You do? Well, that's fun. Because if you just rely on the Bible, why do you still think that Satan is in Isaiah 14:12? So that's kind of a weird thing. Let me see if I can mute myself and blow my nose real quick. All right, hopefully that helps a little bit. All right. Big difference, number 4. Let me scrolly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is up by 1. It's a big one. Good golly, Miss Molly. All right, so 3. Mark has friends who disagree with him respectfully. That, sadly, is something that everybody needs and so many people lack. It's very sad indeed. Because when you are an author on a controversial subject and you don't make close friendships with people that disagree with you, it's not a pretty sight. Not a pretty sight at all. Mark has friends who disagree with him respectfully. I have several as well. One of them is Randall Hardinger's son, Joel. Wesley Douglas disagrees with me on a whole bunch of things. There's, different folks like that. I would consider them a little bit more close. I think that a lot of my friends also are kind of following me on my journey. So, but anyways, Mark has friends who disagree with him respectfully. Gail seems to have no friends. That just sounds sad. Gail seems to have no friends who disagree with her respectfully or otherwise. So, in other words, if you disagree with Gail, if you say, look, Gail, you got this wrong in your book, you are not a friend anymore. Like, I was a friend of Gail's for quite some time, but then I started being like, hey, what's this whole, and I was not disrespectful about it either. What's this whole thing with Hermas and Barnabas and stuff? And I had asked her questions on lots of other things before that, too. I wasn't necessarily satisfied with those answers, but it was a real fiasco. If you guys want to see any of that kind of stuff, there's a link down in the description of this video that will take you to where I've discussed all of this nonsense that went on between me and her. And we can talk about that more in the future. Again, there's a lot of details. Whenever you talk about something Gail related, there's always more to the story. All right, that big one is already up. Difference number 4. Mark earned his doctorate degree from his doctoral degree, whatever, from Bob Jones University in the field of this, of Bible, theology, stuff like that. And he had expert instructors who trained him and which helped inform his opinions. He also received input on his book from experts and endorsements from experts in the field of Bible history and the original languages. For instance, what was his name? He wrote D.A. Carson. He wrote a book that has been highly recommended that I really want to read. I do have it somewhere. It's called The King James Only Debate, A Plea for Realism, I believe. So he has endorsed Mark's book. Other people, experts in the field, have endorsed Mark's book. He could read Greek and I believe also Hebrew when he wrote his book. Gail, on the other hand, has an honorary doctorate from Hyles-Anderson College, which she earned because she wrote New Age Bible versions. She never actually did any doctoral work. She just kind of has this degree now because Hyles-Anderson awarded it to her. Hey, it's fall. It's that time of year, right? So she has an honorary doctorate because she wrote New Age Bible versions. She says that the America's largest church or whatever gave her a doctorate, and it's like the doctorates don't come from that. They don't come from there. They come from colleges and universities. Gail has an honorary doctorate from Hyles-Anderson, which has not informed her opinions. She received no training, expert training or otherwise, in the field that she discussed. She sought no expert or peer review before releasing her book because, of course, you can't trust any of these people. So why would you want their opinion about your book? Right? They all think that Jesus is Lucifer, so how can you trust any of them? Right? It's not a pretty sight, not a pretty sight at all. Presuming God would guide her every statement. And she received no endorsement from anybody trained in Bible history in the original languages, which is also very sad. I think there was like a couple, or at least one new King James Bible translator that fell for her work, at least early on. And Peter Ruckman was trained in a lot of that stuff from BJU, and he apparently endorsed her book until the end of his days, which is kind of funny considering how completely erroneous her entire book is. And I never really even realized it either, just reading it. But I mean, maybe he never read any of the books that she mentioned. Maybe. Of course, it also gets my conspiracy wheels turning. I'm thirsty. All right, so let's scroll to item 5. Mark is open to correction and publicly has admitted when he was wrong. There was one specific case of this where he had an episode with the Textual Confidence Collective, and one of them said, I forget who it was. One of them said that Gail Ripplinger claimed that she didn't care whether her documentation was accurate. And I was like, I've never heard her say that. So I pushed back on them in the comments, and I was like, she's never said that. That's kind of ironic because you guys are talking about people misrepresenting people, and you're saying that she said this when she never did. Unless there's something that I missed. And so Mark was like, hey, let me ask so-and-so that said this, and we'll get back to you. And, we'll see what's what. So they did, and they got back to me. And they said, yeah, that was something that apparently David Cloud had written, that it didn't seem like she cared whether or not her documentation was accurate. So they had apparently misread that, and they put a correction to that in the description of the video. So Mark is open to correction, and publicly has admitted when he is wrong. And the same thing with the Steven Anderson case, when he kind of jumped the gun on B2B, if a B2B destroyed or what have you, which is not a typo. I think Steven Anderson was saying that it was a typo. But if that statement itself is not a typo, because B2B is used many other places. I'm not sure that it's used elsewhere in the Bible, but if I'm not mistaken, they do use it in the translator to the reader, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a few other places that I've found that phrasing. So I don't think it was a typo at all. But yeah, Mark apparently felt that he was wrong, and he put out a video apologizing to Steven Anderson. Gail would never do that. Never. Gail, to my knowledge, has never admitted that she was wrong, even when it has been proven publicly. What she does is, if she reads something and she looks into it for herself again, and she finds out that she was in fact wrong, she will either claim that it was a typo, in at least one case from James White, she's done that, I believe. And then there's other times where she will just quietly strike that part from her book where she was wrong. And it'll just kind of be like it never happened. And of course, she never thanks the person who pointed out the error. She never admits it publicly. And she's just apparently never, ever wrong, which is very sad. People that can't be wrong are the wrongest there is. Joseph Armstrong, legendary quote. People who can never be wrong are the wrongest there are. That's going on the philosophy page right there. Oh, that's deep. I got to come up with a better way to say that. Maybe there's probably already a saying, and somebody's gonna like quote Aristotle to me or something now, and I'm just gonna be like, "Oh, that's perfect." And I probably have seen the quote, but I don't know. It can be put much better. I'll leave that for the big wigs for now. I'll probably come up with something. She has never admitted when she is wrong, even when she has been proven to be wrong publicly. She will deal with the things that she can still pretend to be right about, and then she will ignore the things that actually are demonstrably false in things that she said. She's careful not to deal publicly with matters that may brand her with suspicion. That might sound familiar to you guys. Mark has made himself vulnerable and has earned his readers and viewers' trust. Gail has not made herself vulnerable to earn her readers' trust. She panders to her readers' prejudices, and by those means earns their trust and affection. Oh yeah, and it also helps to call everybody that disagrees with you a liar. That also helps you to earn people's trust. Mark has time for conversation with those who respectfully disagree. When I have disagreed with him, especially when I was King James only still, he had time. And I appreciated that. If you disagree with Gail, respectfully, or if you disagree with her at all, and point out the flaws in her books, then yeah, you're no friend, and she doesn't get tangled up in arguments with you. One thing that she recommended to me in an email, I'll probably show it at some point. It was in the same email where she told me not to get sucked under the tree of knowledge, because that's where the serpent is. And that, of course, was when we were discussing the marginal notes in the King James Bible. She said that it's not our responsibility to answer questions. If somebody criticizes us, if somebody has a question, what have you, if somebody doesn't understand, if somebody is like asking why does the King James Bible have 5 extra words that were never in any Greek manuscript or any manuscript or translation or copy or anything in Revelation 21:24? Why does it have those words in there when they came in from a commentary and were accidentally put into the Textus Receptus? Somebody asks you that. She said we're not supposed to, it's not our job to deal with the questions. It's our job to be like, how are you okay with modern translations that remove, 64,000 words and all these verses and stuff like this? How could you be okay with these Bible versions? That's apparently supposed to be your pat answer to everything. So if you've ever reached out to Gail and feel like you're just kind of hitting up against the wall, that's the mindset you're dealing with. All right. Mark has defended his research in public moderated debate. That's another big difference between them. Gail has never challenged anyone to a debate. She has never accepted a challenge to a debate. As far as I know, she's only had one challenge to debate. To my knowledge, there's probably more. That was where John Ankerberg offered her to come on to the Ankerberg show. And then, of course, Gail said she demanded that she get to set up her own audio and video equipment because she didn't want people, taking things that she said and making them look weird by isolating them from her context like she does to everybody else. She doesn't like being treated the way she treats others. So, and Ankerberg was like, no, we're not doing that. So Gail just flat refused to go. And Peter Ruckman apparently thought that it was like a trap, and I don't know what D.A. Waite's response was, but he also refused to come. So they were left with 3 people. Oh, yeah, for the King James position. And oh, yeah, Gail went on Tex Mars's radio show, and look at that. Gail, they stacked the deck. They had like 5 New Version guys and only 3 King James guys. And I think those are pretty good odds because, the truth is going to conquer whether you have a lot of people or few. Gail never spoke up and said, oh, yeah, I was invited, but I didn't go because of this and this and that. She just let Tex just kind of keep rambling. That's sad. Oh, they stacked the deck. She knew better. She sat there. She sat silently. That's lying. Let's see. Have I gotten that far? Has defended his research. There we go. Okay. So we're right here. Mark has defended his research in public moderated debate. That is very important. Because if you can't defend what you say before people that know as much as you do, or more than you do, then you're probably not right. Especially when you're striking out on something that nobody else really has talked about. Mark was able to defend his research against Dan Hafley, who was his opponent in that debate. And I think he did a very good job. Gail has never challenged anyone to debate, never accepted a challenge to a debate, nor shown any interest in interacting publicly with anyone who disagrees with her or who has exposed her phony research. And you might think phony is too harsh a word. You read The Shepherd of Hermas and the Epistle of Barnabas sometime, and then go through every single claim in chapter 40 of New Age Bible versions, and go through the entire chart and look to see how she misrepresented Hermas and everybody else that she quotes in that entire chapter, and you tell me just how legitimate her research is. And by the way, Gail, I know that you're not going to debate me because of what we're going to discuss here in a second, but I'll debate you. I'll debate you. And the subject of the debate will be whether or not you represented your sources accurately in chapter 40 of New Age Bible versions. Or maybe it can be adjusted a little bit to be whether or not Blavatsky taught that the Shepherd of Hermas was an occult document or what have you. Something else like that. I don't know. We could figure it out. But yeah, consider that a challenge. But I also know that you won't accept it because of what we're going to read next. Mark's debate is not promoted by his opponents, but it is still available on his channel. That's another difference that Gail and Mark have. This is number 9. It's a big one. Wow, it's a big one. Gail's only debate, which she was not informed of ahead of time, nor was it moderated, that took place on a radio show. Sean Hannity? No. Why does that name come to mind? Maybe it was Sean. I don't know. But anyways, it was on a radio program, and it was with James White, a 2-day discussion. And it was not timed. It was not moderated. It was none of that stuff. So since it was not moderated, I don't believe James should actually consider it to be moderated, because there are debates that he has had that he doesn't consider actual debates because they weren't moderated, and his was not moderated with Gail. There was the host, he was there, but it wasn't timed or moderated or anything. So I don't know why he still considers it a debate, but maybe it has something to do with the host being there. Which she is not informed. Okay. Gail's only debate, which she was not informed of ahead of time. And she was told that somebody was going to be there to discuss it, but she also didn't get to hear a lot of the introduction from what she said. You guys can see a document that she wrote that I'll reference a little later. Her debate is also freely shared freely by her opponents. So Mark Ward's debate is not promoted by his opponents, the people that pushed back against him, the King James Bible Research Council, the ones that set up the debate and everything else. When the debate was over, the leader of that, David Brown, he was like, we shouldn't have done this. I was opposed to it from the beginning, and they took it down from the YouTube channel. You cannot find, and I personally find it sickening. King James Bible Research Council guys, if you're watching this video, you need to put that debate back up, because people have a right to hear what was said and what was done in that discussion, and people have the right to decide for themselves. It's still on Mark Ward's channel. It needs to be on yours too. And taking it down, shameful practice, in my opinion. Gail's only debate, which she was not, blah, 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 whatever. So yeah, it's not, we already read that. So Mark, like I said, his debate has been taken down by his opponents. Gail's debate, however, is promoted freely, because it's obvious what happened in that debate, and that she had her slippers handed to her. It's shared freely by her opponents, but it's, as far as I'm aware, her only radio appearance that is not offered to this day on her website. Every other radio appearance that she had, every other interview, anything, she offers it in her New Age Bible versions audio tapes on CD or download. And as far as I'm aware, that debate, if we call it a debate, that debate is the only thing that she does not offer. It's kind of telling, in my opinion. While encouraging suspicion of the host and her opponents, she seems to discourage her followers from listening to the debate for themselves. She recently released a document she wrote several years ago which says she will not debate anyone who doesn't defend their translation of the Bible as completely infallible. So, in other words, Gail used to want to debate people, but now the debate is off. The debate offer is off, because how can you debate somebody on the issue of the Bible who doesn't actually have a Bible? So if you don't believe that your Bible that you use, your NIV, your Amplified, your New King James, your ESV, your, Legacy Standard, whatever, if you don't believe it's perfectly perfect and inspired and infallible, if you don't believe that, then she's not going to debate you. And turns out those kind of people don't exist. And if you're not King James only, she won't debate you. And the people that are King James only have no debate with her. So it's like, wow, what a way to say I will not talk to people that disagree with me. It's kind of sad. So maybe there's a King James only person out there that would say, yeah, the King James Bible's perfect, that would want to debate her. Maybe she'd debate them. Who knows? She's 78. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she can't do debates physically. I don't know. The document is available on her freebies page. There's a link in the description to that page. And the name of the document, as you see it on the page, is Joseph Armstrong's and James White's Lies. And also, when you open the document, the top of it says Big White Lies, and James White wants to be an authority over the King James Bible, and something like that. Her James White debate, it's basically her James White debate damage control. And she tries to claim that, what is it? She used to say that, oh, this was rich. Kent Hovind apparently got the impression from her that James White had removed all of her responses to James's questions to make her sound like she couldn't say anything to answer him. And I don't know if he got that idea from Gail or if she lied to him and told him that. Kent on this issue just seems to be way out in left field and not really paying attention, and is kind of getting half of what you're saying about a quarter of the time, and just basically spins something off of that, which is really sad. So apparently after Kent said that, she actually put out this PDF and gave it to him, and he read part of it on his channel. But she does try to say that there was one little thing that got removed from there somewhere, but it's pretty obvious to me that it wasn't. It's a bottomless pile of poop. It's ridiculous. The other documents she has written exposing myself and others are available there as well. I have 2 documents, 3 of them with my name on it, but that's just because I published her debate with James White on the channel. And it's been actually one of our most viewed videos. I believe it's over 2,000 views by this point. All right, and the last dissimilarity with Mark Ward is Mark has decided to end his public engagement on the King James only controversy to protect his heart against bitterness. That, of course, is not the case with Gail. Since the 80s, Gail has made defending her King James onlyism and provoking fear and mistrust of modern Bible translations her life's work. And consequently, she is full of malicious bitterness towards her detractors. Detractors, by the way, Simply defined, detractors are what you use to plow the field. So those of you that have stuck around for this long, you get a joke. Oh, I've got to say it. If they say that if you're going to start a zoo, you have to have two polar bears, 2 grizzly bears, and 3 panda bears. It might sound a little strange, but that is the bare minimum. I love that. All right. We got to move on. All right. So we read about the bitterness stuff. Gail and Mark actually have surprisingly little to say about each other. I'm imagining that what Gail wrote affected Mark's King James onlyism when he was younger. I don't know. It was a very popular book. He was born in 1980, so he would have been 4 years old, I guess, when Gail started. Or no, not 4. He would have been maybe 8 when Gail started her work, something like that. All Mark has really said about her is that she holds to a radical form of King James onlyism. And there's a link down in the description that actually you can go through his YouTube videos and see the different places where he has mentioned Gail. And you can see what he has to say in each of those videos. As far as I could find, he directly mentioned her 20 times. And you guys can see all of that for yourselves in the link in the description. It's a very, very helpful bit of software in case you ever need to search YouTube. And that is at filmot.com, Filmot, I believe. Filmot.com/search. So, first, she holds to a radical form of King James onlyism. That's how he describes Gail. She, Sam Gipp, and Peter Ruckman are wolves. That's from his video, I'm done with KJV-onlyism, December 31st, 2024. And he has also said, that's it. So if you want to see where all of that is talked about, that is the link that is down in the description, the very same link, and you can read it all for yourself. And basically, he just basically says that Gail Ripplinger holds a radical form of King James onlyism. He says it like 100,000 times. And then there's that one place where he calls them wolves. There's maybe a couple of other things that I didn't really feel were worth mentioning, but you guys can check it out in there. And if you guys look at that link and you're like, oh my goodness, Joseph, you missed this, or why didn't you talk about this? Are you trying to cover up the whatevers? Leave it in the comments section. And I would highly recommend, especially if you're using the YouTube app on your phone, copy your comment before you post it. I have to do this a lot too. Copy your comment before you post it, because if it doesn't post automatically, you might have to go back and paste your comment back in and resubmit it. Because for some reason, YouTube doesn't like to post a lot of comments all the time, especially when there's links in them. So people have thought, oh, you're deleting my comments and stuff like this. And I'm just like, I can't even find your comment. I've never seen your comment. What did you say? I don't delete people's comments. If somebody is being unnecessarily rude to somebody else, I'll delete their comment and I'll say, hey, could you rephrase that so you're not coming off like you're an absolute moron? And then somebody will go and rephrase it and stuff like that. But besides that, I never delete comments, like ever. So yeah, just to clear that up, if you ever think, oh, Joseph deleted my comment, that's what happened. And I don't think that pop-up is showing up on your guys' feed, is there? Very, very good. All right. What Gail has said about Mark. As far as I'm aware, the only place that Gail has ever even mentioned Mark Ward has been in the document that she calls Joseph Armstrong's Secret Stream Exposed, which I have exposed completely thoroughly, and I feel it's probably the place in the entire world where I have been the most misrepresented and lied about in that document. And there's a link down in the description to where I discuss that document, and I believe it's a playlist of all the different things that you guys can actually see for yourself now how she lied, because these secret streams are now public, and she can't hide behind her PDF of slanders anymore. So there. Let's see. Probably the biggest one for me, just to be a little bit of an aside, there was a conversation we were having, I believe it was at the end of the second part of Bewitched by Gail Ripplinger. That's what it is. That's what it is on YouTube right now. It was toward the end, and we were talking about Joe Biden's earlobes. We talk about homeschooling and sauerkraut and Joe Biden's earlobes and UFO crashes and all sorts of different things. Mel's hole and Dave Pilates and the missing 411. There's all sorts of different things in there in our after shows, our secret streams with the co-conspirators. Hey, if you're into that kind of stuff and if you want to help to support this channel, head on down to the comment section, the description. Sign up to be a co-conspirator through our Buy Me a Coffee app and join the fun. I think it's like $7 a month, something like that. So nothing that'll break the bank, and it helps us be able to expand this ministry. Right now, we are tight. We are like, you could play a very high-pitched note on us right now. We're very tight. So anything you guys can do is deeply appreciated. So at the end of this stream, we're talking about Joe Biden's earlobes. And is it really Joe Biden? Is there somebody in a mask? He's taller now, it sounds. And we weren't talking about this because we believed that one of my co-conspirators' wives, one of his wives, one of our co-conspirators has a wife, and his wife said that she has a friend who talks about this stuff. And we were just kind of laughing about it and things. And I look up, and the time recorded had gone to 3 hours, past 3 hours. And I was like, wow, all of this has been recorded. And one of the guys talking about it took that the wrong way and was like, uh-oh, because, now the feds are going to get a hold of this recording, and we're going to be flagged as being conspiracy theorists against Joe Biden and all this other stuff. So we just kept going and talking and chatting. And then toward the end, it was like, guys, thank you for your support. The co-conspirators were really a nice little group of people, and they're encouraging, and each of them mean a lot to me. Even the honorary ones, even the ones that don't pay rent. There are some that go above and beyond, and there's other ones that are just there because they're just the best people, and I want them there. So, but anyways, I thank them. We all said our goodnights. I usually say bye-bye at the end. And the stream was over. A few days later, I go on the freebies page, find this document, Joseph Armstrong's Secret Stream Exposed. At the very, very tippy top, it's like, oh, Joseph has been discovered. The King James Bible's been proven right. That which you have said in secret shall be shown openly. And Joseph said, all this has been recorded. And a voice said, uh-oh. And then down at the very end of the document in the transcript, it simply says, all this has been recorded. Uh-oh. Bye-bye. And you guys can watch this for yourself. You guys don't have to dig into the Secret Doctrine by, who is it that wrote the Secret Doctrine? Not Alice Bailey. Secret Doctrine. Was that Blavatsky? You don't have to buy all these books. You don't have to look up all these references. You don't have to do any of this stuff to find out Gail's character. today. All you have to do is go on YouTube and look at a free PDF from her website. Read it and watch the video. And you can see that Gail Riplinger has no problem lying about somebody that disagrees with her. And it doesn't, I forget who it was that said this. It's not so much the being lied about part that's upsetting. It's the part that we can't believe her anymore. Anyways, what Gail has said about Mark, I know of nothing Gail has said about Mark except what she wrote in Joseph Armstrong's Secret Stream Exposed. And these are quotations from that PDF. He, that's me, Joseph, surmises that that is Gail's, support of the KJV could be a psyop to distract Christians, while KJV critic Mark Ward is the true hero. One of the things that I said in those streams is that what if Gail Riplinger is part of a psyop and we're being trained to fight against people like Mark Ward that are actually helping us understand our Bibles better, where Gail Riplinger is helping us be able to justify our misunderstandings of the Bible. The harm is being done where we think the help is being had, and the harm that we think is happening is actually the person who's trying to help us. Given Gail Riplinger's propensity for lying outright, it would seem to be the case. Let's see. He, that is me, defends KJV critic and critical text advocate Mark Ward and his use of the corrupt Bar Ardent and Gingrich Greek lexicon. BDAG, I believe, is what it's referred to as affectionately. So, Dank, I think, is the guy that's missing in this list. And then this is a bracketed statement in the middle of the transcript that was taken from what I was speaking of. And she says, Mark Ward teaches that the King James Bible has false friends. That is, words that we think we understand, but we really don't. I think that might be a little too simplistic. It might say that is words that we understand differently from what they meant in 1611. Something like that might be more precise. Let's keep Gail Riplinger's, you already saw it, Gail Riplinger's gift. Mark, I couldn't drive to Dairy Queen to get you the ice cream cake that you wanted. I asked him what his favorite cake was, and he said Dairy Cream ice cream cake. Or Dairy Cream. Dairy Queen. Is that what I said? Dairy Queen ice cream cake. And I was like, all right, Dairy Queen. It's about an hour and a half away. Or about an hour. Somewhere. But I was like, I'm not driving for that. So, unbeknownst to my son, my junior, he requested for supper hot dogs, frozen fruit, and ice cream cake. Or not ice cream cake. Cake. Just regular old cake. So, ta-da! Cake. Homemade cake with whipped cream upon its top. So, here we go. I guess I'll have to do this. Yay, now my voice is messed up for the rest of the stream. So we had some cake. I wanted to have a party hat. I wanted to have confetti, fireworks, fanfare, 21 gun salute. Streamers, banners, the little, like I said, kind of thing. That sounded awful. But I got no idea where any of that is, and I can't afford it anyways. So we'll just have to be sad, that's all. I could, if I was able to use my phone right now and I wasn't using it as the streaming camera, I could change the color of the light to teal, which is apparently Gail Riplinger's favorite color, and I had no idea. Because I had Aegean teal as my background color in the last place we were in. So I had no idea that that was her favorite color. It was just there. And I found out actually this year, a couple of weeks ago, that it's her favorite color. And I was just like, huh, interesting. Serendipitous, coincidental, what have you. So, a gift for Mark. I've given him a few false friends before that I don't think he had considered. A few of them are ones that have actually tripped up Gail Riplinger. So, yeah. The gift for Gail, minus the teal light. And it's not easy for me to say, and I'm going to have to reaffirm it every day for a while. And it doesn't change the fact that we still have to tell the truth. And we still have to expose what is being said, and we still have people to pull back out of the error that has been spread. But Gail, in the face of what you've said, how you've damaged my reputation among your followers, all that stuff. I don't know if this is probably something that you may struggle with as well. Forgiving those that have criticized you, that you feel have misrepresented you. I don't know, but I'm joining you in that struggle. Gail Riplinger, I forgive you. I forgive you for canceling a project that I had been working on for years, obviously with your permission. It was your prerogative. I understood that at the time. And I completely understand why you would not want to crowdfund someone to create your audiobook. I understand that. And it's your prerogative, your decision, your creative work. I didn't see it as a new audiobook project because it was just going to be somebody that was going to be reading it instead of me working on it with AI. But apparently it constituted a new project for you. I'm not sure why that was. And I also wasn't looking for your endorsement of a new project, like you said, but whatever. I forgive you for lying to me and your readers and your viewers thousands of times in your books. I forgive you for lying about me, even though I still have to try to keep telling the new people the same thing, the truth about what actually happened. I forgive you for lying about me and for misrepresenting my words and my feelings. And the last thing that I have planned for this stream is to remind Gail that there is a gift that only she can give to herself on her birthday this year. It's not as upsetting that you lied to us as it is that we can't trust you anymore. Sadly, no one can trust you again, unfortunately, until you finally admit how you have purposefully misrepresented people's words and situations. Junior Asparagus sets us a good example in Veggie Tales on a movie called The Rumor Weed. The rumor grows and spreads, takes over the town, People's lives are in danger. Families and trusts broken. Junior Asparagus has a hard time admitting that he was wrong. But he doesn't learn that he was wrong about Alfred. He thought that he was a robot until he comes into a mature understanding of what it means for an adult to say that he needs to go recharge his batteries, instead of an absolute literal and out of context understanding of it. And now that he understands better, he admits to everyone in Bumbleberg that he was wrong and that he had told a lie, that what he had said was not true. Alfred was not a robot, in fact. He is just a butler. So after he tells the truth, the rumor weed dies. Gale, that black book with the red dragon on the front of it has gone through a lot. It's gone into a lot of people's hands. It is spread all over the place. It is full of rumors, falsehoods, misrepresented statements, and lies. I hope that on your birthday, you will finally admit, give yourself the greatest gift of all, that is freedom of honesty with yourself, with your viewers, with your readers, with your followers, with your family. To finally be honest and say, yeah, in New Age Bible versions, I said the things that weren't true. And tell them why you did it. Maybe I'm right about why you wrote New Age Bible versions, just so that you wouldn't have to accept the facts concerning Revelation 14:12. I don't know. But whatever the truth is about why you misrepresented things so terribly and left out so much information as to make things look bizarre on purpose, especially like you did with Hermes and what Blavatsky said about it, that it's atrocious. Whatever the truth is, as you see it, it's time to admit that things aren't quite what they appear. There are some things that are disingenuous in your books, things that you know more about than what you're talking about. And it's time to start telling the truth. That can be your gift to us on your birthday in Hobbit fashion, where the birthday boy, or the birthday girl in this case, gives the people who come to the party gifts. And it can be your gift to yourself, because the truth can make you free. All right, so that's all that I had planned for this stream. Let me take a looky-loo through all the comments. I like seeing comments. I like seeing the interaction. 4 people left at the end of the stream is not terrible. What time is it? It is 11:45. So, yeah. And we're still working on the Hermes and Barnabas page. It is absolutely enormous, but I'm still trying to find things that Gale got right in that chapter, and I'm not having a lot of success. Let's see. So let me put down the Remarkable app. All right, here we go. Let's read through y'all's comments. Are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. You have lost weight. I may have lost weight. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. Let's see. Good, the world is coming to an end, LOL. Yes, I brought her video. Yes, I have the video. Okay. Isaiah 14 calls him Lucifer, son of the morning. I'm not sure who that's. Okay. Yes, in that passage, the king of Babylon is being referred to as Lucifer because Lucifer is the name of the planet Venus in Latin, and that's what Jerome defined it as. So John Wycliffe did the same thing. That's basically how Lucifer came into our English translations was John Wycliffe. And Lucifer, basically what's happening there, and the Geneva Bible notes and the Matthew Bible notes both agree that what's happening there is the king of Babylon, his exalted status is being compared to the planet Venus, the rising morning star that brings the dawn, which is one reason that it's called Lucifer, because it brings the light, it brings the morning. That's the literal meaning of Lucifer. And that makes it, it basically is seen as bringing the day. So the king is being compared to this planet falling out of the night sky. Or actually, I guess the morning sky, because it's only called Lucifer in the morning. It's called Hesperus when it's setting. So, and Matthew Henry, by the way, as far as I'm aware, from what I remember, his commentary doesn't even mention Satan. It actually agrees that the prophet is comparing the king of Babylon to the fall of the planet Venus out of the sky. Let's see. Colin. Feng Shui, whatnot. That looks spammy. I don't know what Colin's doing there. Maybe there are words that I just don't get. Good evening, long time no see from Daniel Jones. Glad to see you back. Prevent corn, let suffer want. Yes. And 3 cakes from Colin. And Honest Man says, what's that around your neck? And simple enough. Here, I might as well display them. Simple enough. The glasses lanyard. I actually have worn it in a lot of streams. I'm surprised that people haven't noticed. Jennifer, how are you doing? You sound under the weather. I may be headed there. I'm stuffed up a lot because I don't breathe through my nose like I should, which is one reason why I do hostage tape. I haven't done it for a long time, though. Because I know that when I'm out, I'm out. And I can't buy more. So until I find a second job or a job that pays $26 an hour, at least. That's one of the things about having a bigger house. And having to take all of your paid family leave at once. It leaves you in a financial situation. And we are in one. Yeah, we've never been this tight in all of our lives. Never. Enough faggotry. Oh, this guy. Enough faggotry for the night. Let you be gone. Poof. Okay. Yeah, he's got problems with me for some reason. I'm not sure what exactly. Maybe he could stick around and discuss that with me sometime. Hey, Russell, message me sometime and we can figure out whatever beef you have against me. If that's if beef it be, perhaps it's chicken. Woohoo! I think that was from getting the app working. My wife says, hello to my knowledge. No, Joseph is not ill. Nor has he lost weight. The thing around his neck is glasses lanyard. Jennifer says, hi, Destiny. I can hear you in person. Okay, can't come right now. What is the purple crown thing? I have no idea. Hi, Jennifer. Yeah, same Jennifer, Daniel's wife. Good to hear from you guys. Oh no, this is bad. That's bad. Yeah, let me bring this up real quick. Joseph, any idea why KJV is the only version that called Judah Judas? Probably because of the Latin influence, I'd imagine. They followed the Latin very, very closely. I would like to see what the translations before that said. But I'm imagining that it's the reason because of the underlying languages with Greek. Because technically speaking, Judas is Judah, and Jesus is Joshua. So when you see Jesus leading the people out of Egypt, it is talking about Joshua, but it's calling him Jesus, because if you and I only had access to the New Testament, only had access to the Old Testament, and everybody spoke English back in the first century, and we saw somebody walking on the water, we'd all gone, wow, that's Joshua, because that's what the name is. But since the influence of Greek, we have the name Jesus, and that's how that works. And then we would not be saying that Judas betrayed Jesus. We're saying that because we speak English, and we're after Latin, after Greek, all of that. And yeah, that's why it says Judas. We wouldn't be saying today, we wouldn't be saying Judas betrayed Jesus. We would be saying Judah betrayed Joshua. That's what we'd be saying. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac begot Jacob. Jacob begot Judas and his brethren. Yep, that's why. Has nothing to do with the Mandela effect, like some people will try to say. Chase says, howdy. Charles says, sunglasses and thumbs and howdy. And same, bro. Alrighty. Anybody have any particular questions before I sign off? If you guys want to do a secret stream after this, I will try to send a link and hang out a few minutes afterwards, see if anybody pops on. If Destiny has the kids all asleep, the two youngest kind of are, a little more difficult to get to go to sleep. So she's dealing with them right now, I believe. So she might be able to come on. But besides that, should be that. Oh, let's see. Is there anything else important that I need to say? Oh, this might not end up being the first in weekly installments. I'm not sure, because what I want to do and what I can do are two completely different things. I want to make high quality, chef's kiss videos that really get all the documentation and all the truth out on certain subjects. There's a very specific niche of things that I deal with on this channel. And I'd love to be able to do those things, but right now it is unfeasible, and I have a full-time job and 5 kids, and it can't happen. I would love to be able to stream once a week on these subjects, which I have already covered but need to be covered again. So I would love to do things like that, but the problem is that if I do that, then I'm taking the week in my spare time to prepare for a stream, when what I need to be doing is I need to be focusing on my chapter that I'm writing for Angela's upcoming book, The Myth of New Age Bible Versions, How False Warnings Betrayed a Generation of Bible-Believing Christians. I need to be working on my chapter that I'm contributing to that, which is reviewing, not refuting Gail Riplinger's chapter 40, but going through it and verifying and seeing what she said that is true and what she said that is not. So that's a very important distinction. It's not my or Angela's. It's not my or Angela's purpose in writing her book, The Myth of New Age Bible Versions. And it's not my purpose in making the Hermas and Barnabas page, which will become a chapter, hopefully. It's not our purpose to refute Gail Riplinger or show how everything that she said is wrong or anything else like this. The purpose of them is to verify and to see what is going on specifically in her references, in her notes, in reality, and see whether or not what she said is the truth in these different situations. And sadly, we're finding out that there's not much that she actually told the truth about. But if I am making streams every week, then I'm not putting in the work on the page. And basically, I have to put all of my spare time at night. Usually, it ends up being between 11 and 1 or 2 in the morning, usually, working on this page. So it gets a little... it gets late, and I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to it as it is. And if I'm doing these streams every week, ones that are prepared, it's hard to do. It would be a little bit easier for me to go on weekly and talk about what I've done over the course of that week on the page. Something like that would be helpful, I think. And the members would probably like that. They've been asking for me to do more secret streams and such. So that might be a thing. We shall see what happens. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to be back next Friday night. I can't guarantee that. I have a lot of work to do. A lot of work behind the scenes and not a lot of time to stream. But yes, you can help us toward our full-time goal or even part-time goal. If I could do this YouTube thing part-time, that would be amazing. But it takes enough people to see enough value. And it takes money for the mission. So if you guys feel like you want to contribute anything, I'd absolutely love it. The people that are already contributing, you guys have done more than I could have ever asked. It's great. Simply great. So yeah, a couple more comments coming in from Martino. I see you comment once in a while. I remember the name. All right. Is it true the Apocrypha was removed from the King James Bible for budget reasons? I could see where that might be the case, but I mean, honestly, it probably wasn't removed for those reasons. It was never actually considered to be a part of the scripture anyways. I mean, the King James translators didn't see it as scripture. To my understanding, nobody actually saw it as inspired until the Protestant Reformation came along and started criticizing it. And then it was kind of, sanctified by the Roman Catholic Church, and they started considering it scripture. But all the different translations back then that could have it did have it. So, like, the Geneva Bible had the Apocrypha in it, but it was between the Testaments. So, it might have been removed for budget reasons. I'm not sure if I wish it would have been left in. I kind of wish that it was left in, sort of. but that's just because there's a lot of Christian history that has accepted the Apocrypha, at least as beneficial reading. I'm not going to say that it's inspired or that it should be confused with inspiration, but unfortunately, that's one of the downsides of having like books. It all just kind of goes together. With scrolls, you have your book in a separate scroll, and you can be like, all right, these scrolls are Apocrypha, these scrolls are inspired. Okay, difference. But with a codex book, you don't get that. And that's one reason how it seems like they ended up becoming considered to be inspired. And I'm totally not on board with G. John Roth, by the way. And my stuff about the Shepherd of Hermas and Epistle of Barnabas is by no means defending them as being scripture. Not whatsoever. Is it true Rothschilds commissioned Cyrus the First? No, sorry, Cyrus I. Scofield in the early 1900s to create the Scofield Reference Bible and trick millions of unwitting Christians into the belief that Israelites are God's chosen people, thereby paving the way for a manufactured end times scenario. I could almost believe that. I'm not 100% sure about how to interpret Revelation anymore at this point. Hang on one second. You guys got that going on for some reason. We're going to dismiss that. So you guys got to see the floor. Hope that was exciting for you. So, if they're manufacturing an end time scenario, I could see that. I'm not going to say that I don't think that he was commissioned to do that by the Rothschilds, but I mean, he would also probably, if it was me being commissioned for that, I would have died independently wealthy. But as far as the Scofield's Reference Bible coming from a not so great place, wasn't it published by the Plymouth Brethren? If I remember correctly, it was. And I know there is a lot of corruption in the Plymouth Brethren. But that's also true to the same degree of a lot of other facets of Christianity. The one reason why I say that is because, like Aleister Crowley, actually, I believe he was raised Plymouth Brethren, and I think there were some other people as well, but he may have. Yes, Virginia Mollencott, I believe, was also Plymouth Brethren, and both of them, I believe, were ritualistically abused in their childhoods. We know that Virginia Mollencott was abused. She faced lesbian abuse as a young girl. And I'm almost positive, based on the descriptions of Aleister Crowley's childhood, that he must have been exposed to satanic ritual abuse as a child. So I'm not sure how much of that came out of the Plymouth Brethren end of things. And there was another guy, I want to say that he was a circuit riding Methodist of some degree. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Plymouth Brethren, maybe, but I'm not sure. That was actually a very powerful warlock and kept some sort of being in his attic. And yeah, it's an interesting story from the confessionals. But yeah, I've had my suspicions about the Plymouth Brethren a few times. So yeah. Do I think that the end time scenario with the Israelites being in their land and all that's all contrived? It could be, but it was also prophesied in the Bible. The Dead Sea Scrolls also make reference to parts of that, and it lines up right on the dot that way. And I think the Rothschilds also just kind of have their hands in most things that just need funding. So I wouldn't necessarily I wouldn't necessarily go that far, Martino. There's one other thing. Oh yeah. You guys want to know how the Jews became so rich and powerful? The Roman Catholic Church. This was something that I found out a few months ago, and it was just like, wow, it was eye-opening. So in the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church believed that Christians, in their case Catholics, could not lend money to other Christians because they saw biblical prohibitions against lending on usury. So there wasn't a lot of non-Christians around, apparently, in the Middle Ages. So, but one group of people that was available were the Jews. The Jews could lend money to Christians. So the Catholic Church basically set up different Jewish families as bankers. So that's how you got your dynasties, your Jewish dynasties. One of the many factors, but a factor nonetheless, a major factor. Alrighty, I don't think I see any other comments. Let's see. We have other videos that explain the Lucifer thing in more depth. If you guys go to our Buy Me a Coffee page, there's also a couple of articles there. There's one about Hermas and Barnabas. There's one about Manly P. Hall, where he talked about we've been trying to get out an edition of the Bible for years that is reasonably accurate. What's wanted is the King James Bible, and we got to get rid of it and all that stuff. The trumped up quotation by Joey Faust. There's an article there about that. There's an article or two about Lucifer. There's some good ones there. If you guys want to check those out, I haven't had a chance to write one of those because I've been working, like I said, on the massive article that is still private. Co-conspirators, you can access it. All you need is the URL and the password, which I've sent out before. But if you guys need that URL or password, or if you just happen to be a friend of mine that that wants to check it out, totally let me know, and I can send over the credentials to you, and you can get in and see what I've done so far, and watch as I expand the page. So yeah. I think that's going to be it for tonight. We're just a little bit over 2 hours. I thought that I would have more to say. There's a guy that I need to respond to that actually kind of wants all of this and more in a nutshell. So yeah, that's going to be a conversation, I think, coming up soon. I appreciate your showing up. I appreciate your dedication to our stream. I appreciate your time, your listening ear. And let's all read our Bibles like the devil's after it, because he is. And there's a Bible version conspiracy. I am tired. I want to go. And maybe we can talk with our co-conspirators for a little while. That'd be nice. All right. Have a good night. And we'll see you in the next one.